All right. Sorry for the late start, everyone. We had some issues with the original space link, per usual. Hopefully, we get a Twitter space revamp sometime in the near future. Luke, Danny, Anthony, welcome, guys. Sorry again for starting late. Welcome, Whale Coin Talk community. My name is Noah. I'm here today with, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but it's Illini blockchain.
Yeah, pretty close. It's Illini blockchain.
Sorry, it's Illini blockchain.
Yeah, we're based out of the University of Illinois.
Illini. I'm probably gonna mess it up a few times again because it's a bit of a tongue twister. Guys, welcome to the podium. Before we get started, give our audience a quick background of yourselves, what you're currently studying at university, what piqued your interest in blockchain technology, and what you hope to do as far as bridging your studies with future Web3 aspirations.
Yeah, of course. I can kick it off before Luke and Anthony go. I'm a current junior at the University of Illinois studying mechanical engineering, and I'm one of the co-founders of Illini Blockchain. And what I do right now for the team is mainly, on the partnerships team, a lot of outreach, working with different companies, talking to people like Noah, and learning from a lot of people in the space. So that's kind of what I currently do with the team, and it's been really fun. I guess what piqued my interest with blockchain is about 2 years ago, me and Luke and two other guys were sitting down, looking at a whiteboard, trying to explain what the heck Bitcoin was, and we were looking through the white paper and I guess going through differences between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and just the technology in general is what sparked my interest. And I guess for the last 2 years, we've been running with this idea ever since. And then to answer your last question, what I plan to do, I guess after college or more career-wise in the future, I'm going back to a company called Synchrony, which I was at last summer. I did a pretty cool NFT project with them, which gave NFT rewards on their credit card. So, a credit card user will get an NFT reward after they make a purchase. And that was pretty cool. So I'll be returning to them. Don't exactly know my project that I'll be on, but it'll be blockchain related, and I'm really excited for that. So that's a little bit about me. I'll let Luke and Anthony take the floor from here.
Yeah, it's good stuff, Danny. Yeah, everybody, thanks to Noah and the Whale Coin Talk team for putting this on. You guys definitely run a clean ship, although Twitter Spaces sometimes screws you over. But yeah, I'm Luke. I'm like Danny and Anthony. I'm a junior studying industrial engineering at U of I. I last summer got the chance to work at a crypto startup, or like a DeFi startup, that's doing cross-border payments infrastructure using blockchain. So doing that for like institutional places like T-Mobile, for example, that are like American based, but have clients all across the world, and so they've got to like convert that currency. I'm trying to think what your other questions were. Yeah, what piqued my interest in the space was just like that kind of the potential of it. And there's a lot of good writers out there who are really, really good at displaying what this technology could become. And I often thought that I'd missed the boat of tech waves by not growing up in like the late 90s, or I guess not being like a teenager or 20-year-old in the late 90s when the internet was booming. But it seems like blockchain is a great spot, and a new computing paradigm that can change a lot of things. And for me, what I'm most interested in is how it could help third world economies and set up financial infrastructure for them, because I've seen just how amazing having modern financial infrastructure is benefiting myself and other Americans. And I think it can make some serious impact in the future for flourishing economies right now. And then what I'm doing in the future, I'm working at Deloitte in their blockchain and digital assets practice this summer. Going to get a better view of like the institutional side of the space. And then, we'll see where we go from there. I think working at like a Series A or Series B startup would be pretty sweet in the future. But I do not know what I plan to do in the future. probably something around growth and product. That's a little bit about me. I'll let Anthony take it.
Sweet.
I'm gonna jump in real quick. Our humble Luke didn't mention his role within Illini blockchain, but he's one of the other co-founders, and he also does partnerships with me.
Yes, yeah. And I'm the president, and Danny's VP Ops, and Anthony's dev lead. Just forgot to mention literally why I'm here. Yeah.
All right, okay. I'll throw it back to Anthony. Sorry for interrupting you.
You're good. All right, thanks, guys. I'm Anthony. I am also an industrial engineer like Luke, but I'm doing a CS minor, which is where I spend pretty much all of my time these days. It's a little more interesting. At Illini Blockchain, I am a project lead on the developer side, so I'm specifically the smart contract security team. How I got into blockchain or what piqued my interest, I have a little less traditional path. I was studying abroad in Madrid, Spain, with both of these guys, actually. And I was going kind of broke. And so I realized that Gitcoin offers tons of these cool bounties. And I'd always been interested in the space. So I figured, like, why not learn a little bit about the space and make some money? So I did a bunch of, bug bounties and completed some personal projects to win some money. Turns out I really liked the space. And then, I worked an internship in it last summer, joined Illini Blockchain. And now I'm working at EY this summer in their blockchain division, which brings me to like where I'm going. I'm doing product management in EY's blockchain division this summer. And yeah, we'll see how I like it. It should be a good mix between, business and development, which is what I'm looking for. But yeah, just like Luke, not really sure where I'm going to go quite yet.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for the intro. Danny, you said you co-founded the Illini blockchain with Luke. How long ago was that?
Yeah, so officially, I think it was like a year and a half ago. So it was about like August, not last, or I'm trying to think of years, 2021, August. So it was the very beginning of Luke and I's sophomore year. And we started it all began about our freshman year. So take like 5 months in the past from there. And we were thinking about researching different emerging technologies. And we kind of just randomly picked blockchain. And immediately, obviously was very interested in it. We started researching it more, got connected to our two other co-founders. One of them is graduated, his name's Leon, and then the other one is also another dev lead, or VP of development, his name's Alec. So yeah, it was about a year and a half ago.
Beautiful. Okay, so you guys started about a year and a half ago. This is like almost peak bull run of 2021. This is, I'm assuming, a university certified club. Tell us about the early days. How many members did you guys have? How much interest was there? How fast did you guys grow in that first year? I would love to hear about kind of the origin story and the how you guys have grown, not just through the end of that bull market, but through the bear market as well.
Yeah, I can take this one since I led most recruitment efforts in our first 2 or 3 semesters. So in our first semester, it was really small. So it was the 4 co-founders who were, basically became co-founders because we were the ones showing up to consistent meetings. And then there was maybe like throw in 2 or 3 other people at any given time. So like maybe a total of 8 people who were in the club, and it was strictly interest-based, right? So as we would read a Bitcoin white paper or watch Whiteboard Crypto YouTube videos or whatever. And so we do all these pre-reads, and then we come together as a sort of like Socratic seminar, sit around a whiteboard like Danny said, and try to figure out like what this stuff was, how it worked, why it mattered. And then we would write blog posts from that. And those blog posts were actually pretty popular. And we hosted an NFT mint event where we taught people, what NFTs were, why they mattered, and then also, created our own NFT mint contract. And so from that, we realized there is a lot of student interest in just learning about the space. And from there, we had, so after that semester, we had our official recruitment period where we were recruiting for both developers and researchers, so technical and non-technical. And I think we had around like 55 applicants and took, I think like 8 or 10, something like that, because we wanted to keep it small. Just in order, similar to a startup, there was a lot of internal systems that we needed to, fine tune. And so we just couldn't handle, tripling the size of our club in one semester and do that sustainably while like building a culture. But we did curate this sort of like external community through our newsletter and through our Discord and some of these other community events that we would host, or these summits that we would host. So we got to, still curate a lot of student interest, and it grew pretty, not quite exponentially, but grew pretty significantly, because then in the following semester, we had like 140 applicants and maybe around like 500, 600 community members coming to different events, or, following our various social medias, or subscribing to our newsletter. And then that was still the bull run. So that was still, winter of 2022. But then we saw in this semester that recruitment dropped, at least the number of applicants dropped. So we probably went from like 140 to like 70, 75. But the quality of those applicants stayed pretty like super high, or was relatively higher than before. And so I think we did a solid enough job of, crypto pilling enough people where they were legitimately interested in the space and doing work along like outside of just coming to events and stuff like that. And then throughout that time, that is just like from a recruitment side of things, but we've had a ton of interest from, other people in the space, whether it be, blockchains or big exchanges or just other clubs that wanted to collaborate. And we've been putting a lot of work in on developing our own projects and just our own internal systems to make it a super, super valuable club for anyone that's involved, whether it be an external party or an internal member. But that's what our growth has been like, where it's been, it was pretty rapid in the beginning. But then since the bull run kind of teetered off, definitely a lot of people that were maybe somewhat interested probably lost that interest or the allure. But we've kept, a pretty solid internal community.
Okay, so first of all, congratulations on the rapid growth, and bear markets bring in quality over quantity, which I think is a good thing in the grand scheme. And I wanted to know about some of the events. So you said that the following semester you had around 140 apps. First of all, of those 140 applications, how many did you guys actually accept in the club?
We took 14.
Okay, wow. So you guys this is a very selective club. And I'm assuming the reason for that is because you guys don't want to grow too fast. You guys want to pull in the right people and don't want to have like an influx of members and then have a bunch of them drop off. Like give us some more insight into why you guys are so selective about who you let into the club.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it on every cylinder, right? So despite being super selective, we were still doubling the size of our organization every single semester. And, in a semester, right, you only have 12, 15 weeks total, minus maybe 3 or 4 during the entire recruitment period. So you don't have that much time to like fully onboard somebody, especially if they know nothing about blockchain, and then get them onto a project and then ship that project, in a matter of weeks. And so you got to make sure that the people that are coming are willing to commit like 10 hours a week to the club, and are also just like genuinely passionate, have shown, a history of taking initiative and some of those things. And we always kept like the number of people we took somewhat fluid. And it was more so just about the quality of the candidates that we took. And obviously as we've progressively grown, right, like this semester we took, I think 18 or 19 people, as like, the number of current members has grown, we like have more capacity to take on new members. But I think we still want to keep it a like somewhat curated group of talent, because at the end of the day, that's kind of what a club sells to their external partners, right? The product is not the things that we build or the research that we create, although those are like, I guess, side products. Like the real one is talent. And that's why people would be interested in a student organization. And so that's our main goal, is to, take people who are really talented, or at least have the potential, and have shown, through their past experiences that they are the type of person to take ownership over their work and work hard. And, then create internal systems that will help them level up and supercharge you more while making friends and having a really good time.
Absolutely. Nailed it on the head. I couldn't have said that better myself. you guys also throw events that bring in around 500 to 600. Tell us a bit about these events and what they're about.
Yeah, Danny or Anthony, I don't want to keep talking this whole time, although I did run events. Do either of you guys want to take this one?
Yeah, I can take this one. So, yeah, the events for us take a few different forms. This last semester, they took the form of fireside chats for the most part, which, like Luke said, he did run. And how those looked would be, Luke would sit down. He's basically doing like a public interview with, someone in the space, either they're an Illinois alumni or related to one of our partners. And so one of the noteworthy ones that I really liked was bringing in the CSO of Binance, and he was also an Illinois alum. Basically, he called in. We had a bunch of people in the room listening as Luke was kind of just talking to him and hearing his story and hearing what his thoughts are on the space. So events like that are really, really fun and definitely cool to hear. This guy, he's done so much with his life, and he's got a pretty high up position at Binance, working with basically just anything PR related, anything that happens within the company, any media related. So super cool to hear from people like that. And yeah, those fireside chats were definitely a big hit, and it was cool. They were good spaces to meet other people within the UIUC community, because we open it up not just to the internal team, not just those 35 people that we have currently on the team, but the entire university is able to attend. And usually we have some food and whatnot at the events as well. I don't know if anyone has any other points to hit on for the public events.
Yeah, I'd add, Anthony, if you have any thoughts, feel free. But I'd also add, we're still experimenting with the stuff. So some of it is like fireside chats of just getting to know people in the space and their stories. But also we have more educational related stuff. We definitely hammered home on that in our first and second semester. But in our previous semester, we kind of just wanted to expand our network in the space and experiment around with fireside chats. So we hosted those. But we've also had, some breaking down how Bitcoin worked and why it mattered, and going really in depth, because one of our co-founders, Alec, as Danny mentioned, he's doing, he's taking a semester off and just doing strictly Bitcoin open source stuff. And so we just use our club as a platform for him to kind of spread the word of, why is he, as a, really smart student, taking a break from school and pursuing that stuff, and sharing that knowledge with everybody else. So it's a mix of both entertainment in the form of interviews, and then also education in the form of hey, we're going to teach you everything you need to know about this topic, and we'll make it collaborative.
Yeah. And I guess the bigger event that we haven't touched on yet is the Illinois Blockchain Summit, which we helped host with the university, who was mainly running it, and that featured Anatoly and Vitalik. So that was pretty cool. That was last spring, and it's going to be this spring. I think April 28th it'll happen. So that's another cool event that we're involved with, and it gave our team the opportunity to have different booths set up and talk about different blockchain topics, kind of test their knowledge and get good experience, teaching other UIUC students or anyone attending the event, what is DeFi, or what is Bitcoin, stuff like that. So that's another cool event, more of a bigger scale and more university based that we're involved with. That's happening annually now.
Is the Blockchain Summit open to all students and the public, or just students?
Yeah, so it's open to anyone, anyone that wants to attend. So we'll be marketing on our platforms. So I guess if anyone listening now wants to go, it'll be virtual and in person. So yeah, it's open to everyone and anyone.
Luke, you're mentioning that there's a student that's taking a semester off and doing a deep dive into Bitcoin. Can you tell us more about that? I think it's very interesting. I know that you guys did this whole how Bitcoin works and why it matters, but I would love to hear more about the student that's just taking time off of school to go and to become a Bitcoin expert.
Yeah, so Alec is he's a pretty fascinating fella and someone that likes to think for himself. And I think he just had, extra time in his schedule, or, enough credits where he could take a semester off, or maybe he's just taking one class. So he's a part-time student. But yeah, he's working on, some area of the Lightning Network, and, actually contributing to their open source code base. That's like sort of the extent to which I know. But yeah, it seemed, he was just like, all right, there's not much of a better way for me to make an impact than to do this thing. And so he decided to pursue it. And so he's taking a big step back from the club. He's just kind of overseeing the various development teams, making sure that they're, swimming along well. But then he's full-time contributing to this open source protocol.
That's incredible. I'd love to have Alec on sometime. You can relay that message to him. Let's see. You guys created your own NFT mint contract, and you had your NFT mint event. Tell us about that.
Yeah, to be honest, that was one of our super, super early projects, and was really basic. But it was a good way for us to gauge our student body and to see who are interested. After like 3 days of marketing, I think like 85 people ended up showing up, and we gave them all NFTs, and it was more so just a way for us to explain what we are and what Web3 is and the ethos of it and how NFTs work, and try to cut through some of the bullshit. But honestly, I think a better project to hit on would be the one that Anthony was working on last semester, where they built a sort of NFT collateralized lending protocol. And that was, I think, a much more mature project. And although it didn't quite get finished, it was definitely a pretty solid team working on it.
That's awesome. So a protocol that lets you lock your NFTs in and then borrow popular crypto assets against it, USDC, Bitcoin, ETH.
Yeah, you pretty much hit it on the head, Noah. The whole idea is right. Like in traditional lending protocols, you can only lock away, ERC20 tokens as collateral. And the whole idea behind our protocol was so that you could lock your NFTs as collateral. Some other protocols have tried to do that. So BenDAO is probably the most popular one. And they have a pretty good thing going. But it's a difficult space to be in because NFTs are such a volatile asset that having them as collateral introduces a lot of challenges that you don't face with other forms of collateral. So that's what we worked on. We finished all the smart contract development, and now the project's at a point where if we wanted to take it further, we'd have to build out a front end, a great UI, and then start marketing.
Okay, right on. And any other projects in the pipeline that you guys are excited or eager to share?
Yeah. So this semester, the dev team's got 2 projects we're working on. One is a micro lending platform. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with something called Kiva. That's like a Web2 platform, but essentially it's for micro lending. So say you're somewhere, that doesn't have great financial infrastructure, and you need a small loan for your business. Kiva is currently a platform where you can apply for one of those. It's called a micro loan, and it's an interest-free loan. So it's like a cross between philanthropy and a lending platform. And we're going to do the same thing except in Web3. So that's one of our teams. And then the other team, the security team, which I'm leading, is going to focus on smart contract security. So we're not building out a project, but this semester is going to be spent learning about smart contract security, doing C4 audits, and then maybe doing something for a partner called runtime verification.
That's really interesting. Okay, so I want to talk about Kiva because I think it's cool. I like the philanthropic ethos that you guys have kind of hinted at it earlier in the space, but micro lending platform, how does that exactly work? I'm assuming that, like you said, it allows for small loans to help people in poor economies. Do they have to collateralize anything? Do they have to sign up with a name? Like how do you guys loan out money, and what is the biggest micro loan that could be given to a single individual or entity?
That's a great question. So I'm not leading that project, but I do know the main concerns that are surrounding that project, just because I'm pretty tuned into their team. So it's exactly what it sounds like. So the biggest challenge facing this project is, one, how do you stop bad actors from applying for loans and just keeping the money? And then two, how do you stop Sybil attacks, right? Like the same person applying over and over for loans. So I believe the solutions they're looking at are, one, a referral system, right? Where if you're referred by a certain amount of friends, you have a certain credibility rating and you're much more likely to pay back your loan. And then two is implementing some kind of KYC process. There's several different protocols that I know they're talking to right now that have something like that in order to secure the loan. And when we're talking about, another thing they're looking at is also actually, like, how do I say this? Like, you start with a small loan, and if you repay that, then you're eligible for a larger loan, and stepping that up. So those are three things they're looking at in order to make sure that loan repayments happen. But definitely still a problem that they're looking at, and, always looking for suggestions.
Super exciting, guys. Y'all are doing a lot at such a young age. I want to go to the next part of the space and talk about each one of you individually. Danny, I didn't have my notepad out when you first started talking, but correct me if I'm wrong, you're a computer science major.
Oh, no, I could not do that.
No, sorry, what are you studying again?
I'm studying mechanical engineering.
Mechanical engineering, okay. Mechanical engineering, you're a junior. 2 years ago, you guys were trying to explain what Bitcoin was on a whiteboard. Tell me about that. Like, were you guys doing this over the course of a day? Was it over the course of a week? And what was your point of departure? Like, what conclusions were you trying to draw with respect to Bitcoin and its software-based economy?
Yeah, of course. So, like you said, mechanical engineering major, which obviously does not relate to any of this. So this is definitely more of like a side thing that I purely just find interest of. And the Bitcoin research, it really originally started, me and Luke, when we just wanted to learn about different emerging technologies. And the whiteboard was merely just the medium on which we took notes and we explained things. And so we would go into random buildings. We have a building called the SIF on campus, and we would go into the basement on the whiteboard, and maybe 5 of us would just read the white paper, try to understand what the heck was going on, because to most of us it was blowing right over our heads. And actually the person that helped us out the most was Alec, the guy we were talking about earlier. Him and Zayon, one of the other co-founders, were definitely very helpful in explaining this stuff. But yeah, so it originally started, we were just trying to learn about what the heck Bitcoin was, who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and because all this stuff was very foreign to us 2 years ago. And it didn't really occur to us that we would build this into the club where it is today until, we've heard more interest around the university. Some of us were thinking starting a club just in general, not even blockchain related, would be kind of cool just to, as a new venture. And it definitely just accelerated from there. And I guess here we are today. So I would say, like Luke said, the first semester is very research based, very, even the co-founders, most of us or half of us had no clue what blockchain was. So we had to learn ourselves. And that was definitely the first semester of with the research. And then as we got more people, recruited more, learned ourselves, we were able to, push this club to do more development, like actual development projects, host events, and talk to different companies.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people in this space, even seasoned attorneys or CPAs, still need to do their own due diligence, tap into different sources, do a lot of self-learning and self-motivation, because there's no maybe not yet, but there's no structured crypto curriculum. I'm sure you can find stuff online, but I found the best strategy is the point of departure that you guys took, which is just get out there, get in the trenches, and learn this stuff on your own. You said that you're studying mechanical engineering, and you said that you want to go back to a company called Synchrony, which is NFT rewards on credit cards.
Tell us about the work you're doing for them. Are you even planning, or do you even hope to utilize your mechanical engineering degree, or do you just kind of want to go full-time crypto?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that because I think about that every day. But yeah, so Synchrony, it's actually a bank. It's definitely not like well known as crypto at all. So it's a centralized bank basically that offers private label credit cards. So, popular ones that you might know is like the Venmo card. So Venmo is, facilitating the transactions, but the actual money behind these transactions is Synchrony. So with that Venmo card. And so that's where I was. And I was technically an emerging technology intern last summer, and I'm returning as a tech intern. So, most likely I'll be on an emerging technology project. Hopefully it's blockchain related. Just, merely talking to the manager and everything. But I would say at the moment, I'm probably not going to do anything specifically mechanical engineering. But those classes and all of that definitely has not gone to waste, just because there's a lot of things that might show or that might not show that I've definitely learned from mechanical engineering, and where I'm at right now, I would not be without that degree. So I guess job wise, it might not be a mechanical engineering role, but what I've learned and what I've been able to take away has definitely gotten me there.
Yeah, I'm glad you made that point, and I hope it goes without saying that mechanical engineering degree is not an easy degree by any means, and the skills that you learn in that curriculum and kind of the mental aptitude and fortitude that you build up is going to permeate and translate to other areas and other career paths that you take. So that's awesome. I mean, I can't say good enough things about. I have a lot of friends that did mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, industrial engineering. A couple of you guys. And with that said, let's go to Luke. You're a junior studying industrial engineering. You worked for a company you worked for a company that did cross-border payments infrastructure for institutional places like T-Mobile. Tell us a bit more about that and your experience working there.
Yeah, of course. I'll also butt in. Although I do think that we learned a lot the way that we went about it with the whiteboards and self-learning. I think it was actually pretty inefficient. And so what we did, Danny and I, over the winter after our first semester, was built this thing called the Web3 Starter Pack. So if you just look up web3starterpack.org, or I also commented it in this space, it is like a very good holistic breakdown of the space, like how blockchain works, everything you basically need to know to go from like a 0 understanding to like a 4 out of 10. We do that, and that's what we use in our boot camp for new members. But as for myself, working at Burst, so at the time, Burst was actually so Burst is the company, the startup. Actually, at the time, they were not a cross-border payments infrastructure. They pivoted to that from your classic DeFi consumer app. So the basic thesis was, hey, DeFi is a great way to make money and earn returns. It's also pretty hard to get into, or just like hard user experience. So we're going to make it easy. We're also going to make it reliable. So we'll only like sort of invest your money in reliable things like, Compound or Aave, and things that, generate cash flow. You'll just like have an app interface with your Chase Bank to do it. Obviously, after Terra blowing up, and then BlockFi and Celsius and all these other institutional asset managers or investors that were doing similar things to us, it was almost impossible to get regulatory approval for the different regulations or licensees that you needed to get. So they made a hard pivot, explored around, and talked to a lot of different people in the finance space or the fintech space, whether it be mentors or advisors or people on Tegas, which is like a really, really great platform for learning about industries from industry experts. And they decided to pivot. But at the time, I learned quite a bit. I learned quite a bit about Twitter growth. So I got a lot of respect for you, Noah. I know it's a grind. I was mainly running the Twitter account, writing down a lot of threads and interacting with a lot of people in the comments, and I learned that it's a pretty difficult job, and it's definitely taxing. But I learned a lot about growth and education. My main job was to grow the user base and then educate those users or potential users on how the platform worked and just generally how DeFi works, since a lot of them were complete newbies. And I also got to meet a lot of really cool people in the space. So I was living in New York at the time of the bull run, so I got to go to NFT NYC and a bunch of these really cool side events and meet some really awesome founders, and also get just my first experience working at like a VC-backed, relatively high-growth startup. And it was certainly invaluable, regardless of the fact that like a lot of my work technically like doesn't really translate to what they're doing right now. I learned quite a bit at the time, and I had a pretty awesome experience doing it.
Beautiful. We pin that Web3 starter pack to the top of the space. Also, thank you for your kind words. You know, they say it takes a village to raise a baby, or it takes a village to build an Olympian. It takes a village to build up a social media presence. And so I'm just a small piece of the pie that goes into growing Whale Coin Talk. We have a whole team here that's working hard every day to make us one of the bigger voices in Web3. But bringing it back to you, Luke, I wanted to know. Oh man, I kind of lost my train of thought here for a second. Okay, got it. It came back. I found it interesting that you said you want to learn how crypto and blockchain can help poorer world economies, particularly setting up the modern financial infrastructures that we benefit from. What are some countries or some regions that you're eyeing, and then what are some ideas you have for implementing these modern financial infrastructures in those respective regions?
Yeah. So a few of the places that I guess I'm eyeing are the ones that you can like clearly see that they would need help. I guess are two parts. One is Africa, and the other is a lot of places in South America. As for me personally, I don't have like any startup ideas that I plan to pursue, but I think in general, it's a holistic issue, right? Number one is you need governments to get on board with that stuff and proper regulation in place. But you also need, an easy user experience where people can actually understand how this stuff works, right? If it's already hard for somebody in a well-educated country to understand this stuff, right? Like us as college students going to a good university, it was still incredibly difficult for us to gain the intuition for Bitcoin. Maybe a little bit different since other people may be in worse economies where they actually don't have a stable currency or a store of value, and so it's a little bit easier to pick up. Actually interacting with wallets and all that stuff to the point where it's easy and easy for somebody who may be uneducated or just hasn't interacted with that much technology because they don't have access to it, I think will be a huge issue and has already popped up in a lot of different spots, whether people getting scammed like in El Salvador or some other spots. Yeah, as for me, honestly, I don't have like any specific ideas into growing it. I mean, I think that stable coins will be the Trojan horse, if you will, to get people set up with their wallets, to get people set up with their digital identities, and that lay the foundation for a lot of other mechanisms, right? When they come to mature, like lending mechanisms and exchanges and other things like that. But I think stable coins will be like the Trojan horse because it's already being used. People need a reliable currency, and if you can just kind of translate the US dollar over to somebody else so that they can just get a paycheck and make sure that paycheck stays a similar value like the next week or the next month is super invaluable to people.
Agreed, Luke. And I'm gonna use that in the future. Stable coins are like a Trojan horse. You are studying industrial engineering, and again, let me preface this by saying that engineering is like gymnastics for the mind. If you go through a rigorous engineering program, then your brain is just, in my opinion, and from what I've seen anecdotally amongst my engineering friends, it's better. It evolves better. So, and you guys are able to apply this to the industry and navigate in ways that I haven't even seen people my age doing at such a young age.
I want to know if you're planning on pursuing a career in industrial engineering at all, or if you're also going to pivot kind of like Danny and just go full-time crypto after. I know you said that you're going to go work for Deloitte's blockchain and digital asset arm. So I guess two-part question. And would love to know what kind of work you're going to be doing for the latter.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, just like Danny, I don't plan to pursue industrial engineering. Basically what industrial engineers do, or they make it more efficient for warehouses and manufacturing facilities to operate. At least that's a direct application of industrial engineering, but I certainly plan to use a lot of the skill sets in it. That being, industrial engineers are really, really good at kind of speaking the language of engineering, but applying it to different stakeholders and maybe in a more business setting. And I certainly plan, and I've been carving that as sort of my path within Web3, right? I've spent a lot of time educating people, right? Reading the white papers, but then translating in an understandable way, whether that be in, Twitter threads or presentations or blog posts or what have you. And I just generally believe that it's super valuable to translate complex information to different people, and I think my skill set lends itself towards that. So I definitely plan to just continue to double down on that skill set and just see where it takes me. As for going full time, I'd say in general I'm a little more industry agnostic in the fact that I certainly want to be in an emerging tech space, and I think blockchain is an amazing space for that. And since I've done so much work in it, I could get pretty better opportunities or cooler opportunities working in that space than another, just because I have more experience. But I more so just want to work for a really awesome company that's doing great work and helping people, where I can, get an equity stake or something of the sort, where I can start to build my way to financial freedom. And so, yeah, I think like a Series A or Series B startup doing stuff like that, that's kind of in the hyper growth stage would be the sweet spot for me. If it's blockchain, I'd say all the better. I'd put it at like a 75% shot. I end up working in the space post-college. And then for Deloitte, I actually don't know what team I'm going to be on yet, but I'm in their advisory division. And their advisory division, basically, a big institutional client will approach them, whether it be Web3 native or not. So somebody like Coinbase or somebody like, JP Morgan will come to them and have some sort of problem they want solved. So I guess it's kind of like consulting in that sense, but then they want to figure out, okay, what should we do? How should we approach this space? What are some products that we could use? Could you guys build a product for us? And so I'll be doing a lot of that stuff. I assume it'll be like a lot of research, but they're pretty fast growing divisions. So I hope it to be less corporate vibes, a little more startup-y. But I really don't know what I'll be doing for them or what team I'll be working on, similar to Danny.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to echo that. I'm a big hyper growth, early stage startup kind of guy myself. So it's an exciting time to be around, be in a company rather. Anthony, last but not least, industrial engineer with a CS minor. Would love to know what your aspirations are going into the workforce. It does sound like you have that CS background or enough of it where you might be a developer, a pseudo developer in the space. Tell us about your future thoughts.
Yeah. I think comparatively to Luke and Danny, I'm a little bit more on the technical side. I just have an appreciation and a love for, engineering and computer science. Not to say that they don't, but I just love it. And so I do see myself as a developer in the space. With that said, I'm in an interesting position as an industrial engineer and CS minor where I get to see the best of both worlds, right? Like this industrial engineering side, there's, some more business people, some more social people. And then on the computer science side, I'd say people are generally more introverted, more closeted. So where I'm looking to go is I think I do a pretty good job at bridging that border. So I'm looking to be something like a technical product manager or something where I get to lead a team of devs. Fortunately, that's exactly what I get to do at Illini Blockchain. And that's what I'll be doing this summer at EY. I'm going to be a technical product manager. And I'm hoping that's where I take my full-time career. We'll see if I like it this summer.
Awesome. And
So tell us about the UI blockchain division. What exactly is that?
So similar to Luke, at Deloitte's blockchain division, what happens is people come to EY, big firms like Luke mentioned, like Coinbase or JP Morgan, or any company that's looking to get into the blockchain space might come to EY. And they're going to ask them either to consult for them or build them a product. And as a product manager, I'm on the product side of that. So I'm going to be actually building blockchain products for EY, which is actually pretty interesting because EY, is thought of this as this like tax and auditing firm. But at this point, they're actually pretty big in the blockchain space. And their head of blockchain, Paul Brody, is pretty big in the Ethereum space and a huge proponent of public blockchains versus private blockchains. So yeah, I'm going to be on the product side. So I'm actually going to be building products at this firm.
Love it. That's awesome. And do you still do get coin bounties to make a little bit of pocket change?
Well, I'm not quite broke right now. I'm working an internship at Nethermind, which is an Ethereum development company. But I guess if the pockets are ever running low, I can always shift back to it.
Right on it. What kind of work are you doing there? Just building products?
Yeah. So that's on the smart contract security side. So pretty much smart contract security is traditionally approached from like you audit the contract once and then deploy it. But at Nethermind, I'm building bots that detect what functions and, what events are called from smart contracts. And in that way, you can like live monitor the state of smart contracts and you can like flag suspicious activity. So I'm essentially doing security work in like a new area there, which is pretty cool. Some super smart people there.
That's awesome. Love it. Guys, you studied abroad together in Madrid. What were your thoughts about living in Spain?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, so us three were roommates, and then plus one other guy, and yeah, it was amazing. As everyone loves abroad usually, and we're definitely in that group. So we traveled a bunch. Had a lot of fun. Worked on some Illini blockchain. Definitely crypto pilled Anthony while we were over there. Him living with two co-founders of the club. It was almost automatic that he was going to join. So, yeah, I can let Anthony and Luke talk about this as well. But me and Luke are actually returning to Europe in 2 weeks for our spring break. So we'll be going to Vienna, Austria. So really excited to go back to Europe. We loved it. We loved all the exploration. Whenever we would go to new countries, we would live in hostels, meet a ton of cool people that are traveling, and hear their stories. So it was definitely tons of exploration, adventure. Plenty of putting yourself in, getting used to being uncomfortable, and seeing how much you can get out of, constantly not being in those comfortable situations, and instead, like, for example, I took a random solo trip to Valencia and talked to some Australian guy for like 3 hours in a hostel, and you don't get to do that every day. And so taking learnings from that and trying to apply it, once we're back in the States, and whatever we're doing now is definitely been a joy. And I'll let Luke and Anthony talk about it too. So yeah, I definitely loved it.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat everything Danny said. It was an awesome experience, and my first time living outside of my childhood home and my dorm room. But one thing that I thought was interesting that I didn't really expect was that it grew, or like it caused me to grow increasingly appreciative of America, because you don't really notice what your country does really, really well until you leave it and you go to other countries. And I just thought in general, like I became much more appreciative and much more proud to be an American, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add here. I was born in Germany, and I've been to Europe a lot, but I would say that, so I'd been around with my family, but I would say that traveling with friends brings you a lot closer. And it's an experience I would recommend that anyone do if they have the chance.
Hey guys, this is all music to my ears. I love to travel, and I couldn't echo what you all said any louder. Hostels are the way to go, by the way. If you're traveling solo, if you're traveling with friends, it's the best way to meet people. If you don't want to share a dorm, then you can get a private room, find a private room hostel. But man, I miss traveling. That's awesome. I'm glad that you guys got a rich experience out of it. So
love that you're on the hostel life.
Okay,
Love
so
the hostels.
guys, you wrote blog posts and you said they're quite popular. Where can we find these blog posts? If you want to send me a link, we can pin those to the space as well. But I would love to give those a read along with the Web3 starter pack.
Yeah, so these blog posts, they're located on our Medium site, so we can send a link in there. But our Illini blockchain Medium has all the blog posts, and any onboarding material like the Web3 starter pack are on our public Notion and on our website. So we also have some more onboarding material, kind of like the Web3 starter pack, which is general education, and then the blog posts are more specific, I guess, research that we did. For example, like NFTs and how they can be used to improve elections and stuff like that. So that's just one example of the blogs that we were doing. But yeah, more to come with that. We have a lot in the pipeline on our deep dive team and our research team.
Fantastic. Education, critical catalyst for mass adoption. I'm glad to see that you guys are building infrastructure at the collegiate level. Guys, I want to go into the final part of the space. This part's a bit of fun, bit of speculation, and I want to ask you about kind of the higher market cap crypto assets, what your thoughts are. Let's start with the OG Bitcoin. Luke, Danny, I know this is what got you into the space to begin with, but would love the three of you to tell me what your thoughts are on Bitcoin's future. And also, do you ever see Bitcoin being flipped by another crypto asset?
I'd say I'll take it first. I really do not have a lot of education on I guess the financial side of Bitcoin, more so on the technology side. I'd say in the future, if Ethereum does solve the blockchain trilemma, at least somewhat well, I totally think that it could. I don't know. I don't like to have strong opinions on these things, but to me, I think Ethereum's a more powerful fundamental technology. I do think in the long run, right? I think, a lot of my friends ask me, oh, should I invest in this? Should I invest in that? And I just tend to say you should buy some Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe one other blockchain and just like let it sit for 15 years and you'll be pretty glad you did it. We'll see if I'm wrong, but I'm like very, very confident that will at least be right. Don't know if Bitcoin will be flipped. And then I'll also say I threw in a link to our link tree, which has a bunch of our educational resources on it in the comments. And I also linked our Medium, which has like an archive of all of our blogs.
Dope. Yeah, I'll add on to what Luke said. My take is definitely more on this utility and the application side. So when people ask me like, should I buy Bitcoin or should I buy Ethereum? I honestly don't look at the markets like at all. I don't really care about that. I more care about like what it can do. And with Bitcoin obviously being more eco-friendly, something that's important for me. So that's something that I definitely look for. But yeah, I think they can all coexist. Yeah.
Yeah, my opinions are similar to theirs. I will say that my opinion on Bitcoin has changed pretty heavily over the past year. I used to think it was like the most boring blockchain of them all, despite it being, the OG. But as I've done more research and learned more about how, underdeveloped economies leverage Bitcoin, I'm coming to realize just how valuable it is to have an asset that is completely and truly decentralized and a pretty good store of value. And that alone makes Bitcoin interesting. It doesn't have to do all the other fancy stuff. It just does a really good job at doing that. And, probably most holistically encompasses like blockchain's ethos of being decentralized and unowned. So will there ever be a flippening? Maybe, not sure. But yeah, Bitcoin and Ethereum to the moon. That's all I got.
Yeah, I will also add Bitcoin. I definitely thought it was boring originally, but like Anthony said, it does one thing super well, and that's valuable. Totally off topic, but we just had a of Raising Cane's added to our campus, and they do one thing very well. Like they only have two things on their menu, like 5 total ingredients, but they do it super well. And while it doesn't relate to blockchain at all, it's important to realize if quality over quantity in this scenario, and especially my role model, Jack Dorsey. He's a big Bitcoin supporter. So whatever he supports, I support.
Right on, guys. Love it. So let's go with the technical question. Technical for me because I'm not a developer. But what industries do you see NFT technology disrupting the most? And let's leave out art and music and gaming. Let's go for future industries that you see having their paradigm shifted. Excuse me.
Yeah, we actually wrote a couple blog posts about this, but me not being on the non-technical side too, I won't get too in depth on the tech, but I think one of the ones that I think is super interesting is just like supply chain and tracking goods as they go throughout the supply chain process. So through the link tree that Luke sent, one of the blog posts is just about that, and basically says how NFTs and blockchain can affect, how supply chain make that more efficient and make tracking goods much better.
I can also jump in here and just list a couple off because at Synchrony I did a project on this. So one space I think it'll disrupt is identity, specifically digital identity. Another one, like Danny mentioned, is supply chain if implemented well. And then another big one is like legal documents. I read an article just the other day that I think it was in California. I think they're putting, I think it's estate plans. They put them on blockchain and they got a lot more efficient. So like legal documents can also be digitized and used, disrupted using NFTs. So yeah.
Yeah, and then just one more. I totally agree with all you guys. I'd say real world assets that are unique. So something like your house, I think will be put on a blockchain eventually, and stored as a digital asset.
Mm-hmm. All great use cases. And then the last question, two more questions for you guys because the very last one's kind of fun. The next question is, outside of NFTs, what sectors of the industry excite you the most? Or sector?
I got to think about this for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. Take your time.
Yeah, typically I say, a very common one, DeFi. And I think just because it encompasses so many different things, and I think it has so much more room for growth. And, our developer teams often work on DeFi related projects. We did the lending protocol last semester, and now we have the micro lending again. So, and now we have an investment team basically investing into DeFi. So I'm definitely surrounded by a lot of DeFi applications, and which is good because it's definitely where my interests lie, and I think there's just so many different directions you can go within that space. So I'd say probably DeFi, which is definitely a common answer, but it's a goodie.
I'll kind of go with the DeFi route, but I'm going to give a slight qualification. I used to be really into DeFi on like the options, crazy financial jargon side. And I've actually shied away from that recently and gone to the side of like simple lending done well, or simple finance done well is going to be huge for underdeveloped economies. And I know that's a theme that keeps on repeating, but I really like the philanthropy side and the idea of helping people through blockchain. And I think that that comes from providing, basic financial infrastructure. But that's really been exciting me lately.
And then to wrap it all home, I'm by far most bullish on DeFi. It just makes a lot of sense to me. And within that, I actually think blockchain as an application for traditional finance is pretty interesting. Of it just being just a better database or just a better system for tracking things. So the startup that I work at right now, that's exactly what they're doing. That I used to work at, that's exactly what they're doing. Where they're like, hey, T-Mobile, like it costs you this amount of money, and it's not very efficient to transfer pesos into dollars using these Mexican and American banks. You should just use a blockchain to do it, and we'll do it cheaper, faster, and more efficiently. And you can like pay half as much. And I think that'll be pretty disruptive as well as like a payments infrastructure and just generally like a more efficient technology in specific use cases.
The future is exciting, especially listening to you guys talk about use cases and how this stuff's going to evolve going forward. We pinned everything, all the content that you all have produced, we pinned to the space. So if anyone wants to go check it out, just tap on it. If you forget to do it, you can always go back and listen to the recording and tap on those links. Give these guys a follow. They're doing great things for crypto education, blockchain education at the collegiate level. I think it's so critical and so important. Last question. If I was to give each one of you $100,000 today and you had to DCA into crypto over the next year, what assets would you buy into, and how much of each, or rather what percentage of each?
I can go first because I have this set up. I would say I do 50% Ethereum. Then I would do I think like 25% Bitcoin, and then split the rest between Solana and Avalanche. Although I think the graph, I'm not sure if you're aware of what that is also a great shout. It's the data layer for blockchain. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way, except instead of Avalanche, I'd just do Solana, or maybe another protocol. But yeah, it's pretty similar, just like Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, I'm pulling up my DCA right now because I got a similar setup as Anthony, but let's look. I think I'm definitely more Solana heavy than I guess they said, but for the most part, it's about 30% Solana, 30% ETH, 30% Bitcoin, and then that last 10% is just random, for fun stuff. Maybe a little bit of Avalanche, just absolutely random stuff that I kind of just want to play around with, hold for a while, see if anything pops.
So bonus question, since you guys all said Solana, why so bullish Solana even after everything that's happened and kind of the network outages and all that stuff? Would love to hear your thoughts.
I can speak. So they were one of the early sponsors of the club. So I've gotten the chance to become pretty familiar with them. And I was at their office this winter. And Noah, I was in the same boat as you. I was kind of, very skeptical of it. But I met the people who were working there in that office. I can say like pretty confidently that they were some of the smartest people I've ever met, and they were all working incredibly hard. And so seeing the culture there firsthand was what shifted my view on it.
Yeah, I got a couple things. So yeah, it was our first partner, which I guess just they're an OG with the Illini blockchain crew. Actually, Anatoly's from U of I. He's an alum, so we got that connection. And anyone who I've come in contact with at Solana, I mean, I actually see one of them on this call, Tony from Underdog Protocol. They're working on Solana, and any call we've had with them has been amazing. And anyone on the actual Solana Labs team they're really bright, just like Anthony said. So just from that fact, I've just enjoyed Solana, and from everything that Solana has been through, the fact that they're still kicking and still a major player, I think is definitely noteworthy. If they had any huge weaknesses, then I think they would have kind of crumbled with all the everything that's happened around them that has almost tried to make it fail. So I think that's really impressive, and for all those other reasons, that's definitely why I'm still supporting Solana.
And then for me, to round it out, I think it's important to take a long-term view of like how big the crypto market is right now. It's like pretty small, and the amount of people that are actually using it for its like fundamental use cases is relatively small to its like TAM. And I think Solana is best addressed when crypto hits mainstream to like, you know, capture that value and to sustain it just because it's so damn fast and so damn scalable.
So
yeah.
Tony's the speaker.
Yeah,
right?
I brought him up. What's going on, Tony?
What's up? Can you guys hear me loud and clear?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yeah, just wanted to bring you up since the voice shouted you out. Guys, all great answers, and you're right. I mean, the market's going to continue to grow. Community is strong. Tech is strong, from what I understand. I mean, there's some outages here and there, but we can always go back and forth about what exactly happens then. And, you know, I think it's great that, Anthony, you got to speak with the team firsthand. I think that always instills confidence, especially when you see the actual people behind the scenes building. And we have a long way to go. The space is still very young. Despite what people say, it's like we are still early as a meme. But if you look at just crypto by market cap and adoption and number of people that use it versus don't, we are still early. I mean, it's not even a debate. Guys, those are all my questions. It's been a pleasure having you on, Danny, Luke, Anthony. If you have any final words for our community before you guys head out today, go ahead and share them now. Otherwise, it's been awesome.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think I'll just.
Oh yeah, go Tony.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I'll just say some finishing words since I'm up here. You know, I think like with Solana, I was a Web2 guy, so formerly Uber, Thumbtack was on the growth teams there. Came over through Launch House, which was this creator founder community, and was really skeptical. Was on Ethereum first. Found Solana. Tried explaining blockchain to my mom. She said, "Let me just use it." She used Phantom, and she was able to swap like fairly easily. And I realized like just UX already off the top is so much easier on Solana than on Ethereum. And as I dug into it, the community felt right. So you know, like the meme is 75 developers on Solana. There's now like 7,500 people who've signed up for Grizzlython, which is the recent hackathon by Solana. So it's basically 100x, right? So the idea there is you follow developers, you're going to find innovation. And I think not to shell, but some of the stuff we're working on at Underdog, like we've been able to work with 2 Web2 companies, like some early stage startups on some Web3 initiatives, and they're fascinated by how easy and how much is possible on Solana, just based on the infrastructure and the account structure of Solana itself. So definitely like whatever sets up, I think blockchains for enterprise adoption and consumer adoption is going to win out. And if I had to take a bet, I am a betting man. It's on Solana, but you know, I think there's still a lot of really cool things in specific sectors that are being built out across blockchains. So blockchains are like cities, so each city can live on, but it doesn't really matter who wins as long as things are getting built and citizens are being fulfilled.
Beautiful. I was going to say, beautifully put, Tony. And I love that last analogy. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game, and it's not a zero-sum game. Luke, Danny, Anthony, if you guys want to finish out with some thoughts and then wrap things up.
Yeah, I don't really have anything. I just want to thank you for having us on. You know, like this was my first Twitter Spaces, and I was a little intimidated when I first got on here, but you've done a great job at making this a welcoming space. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, just like Anthony, thanks so much, Noah. You've been great, and the whole team. Love this space, and yeah, I guess it's crazy. Stuff like this is, you know, as the beginning of Illini blockchain, like when we started it, to look back at how far we've come. This is definitely, you know, one of those days where it's like, wow, like look how much we've grown. Like we're just talking about it. I was looking through the archives as we were talking through the history of the club, and it's amazing to see where we've been, and definitely lets you appreciate, hard work pays off and all that. So, thank you so much, Noah, for having us on.
And I'll just echo that one more time. Noah, you've been amazing. And I think hustle always pays off. And it's clear that you guys are hustling over at WCT. I'm excited to see where you go. But yeah, thank you so much for having us. It's pretty cool.
Gentlemen, the feeling is mutual. Illini Blockchain, thank you guys for coming on. Whale Coin Talk community, you were listening to another episode of The Aquarium, hosted by Noah. And remember, everything that you hear on these broadcasts is educational. It's not financial advice. So be safe out there. Take care. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.